This video is the third in our series of Basic Premiere Pro tutorials, and this one is dedicated to working with sound. Now, you'll notice that down on our timeline, we have 3 audio channels. If we want to add any channels at any point, we can just right click and hit Add Tracks. And it gives us the option to add video or audio tracks. So you can always top up. Don't think that the 3 channels is all that you are limited to. But when we look at the audio channels down here, we have these additional buttons. We have M for mute, S to make solo, so that in effect mutes all the other tracks. And then we have the little microphone here if we wanted to record a voiceover directly to Premiere Pro, which can be really handy for when you're making videos, or if you're doing a trailer like I'm doing in this instance, actually recording your voice and putting on, the trailer guy voice if you'd like. But what I'm going to show you is when we are using Premiere to manipulate sound, there are some specific things that we'll probably want to do. If we start to watch back with these clips, you can see that the blending of the sound is really abrupt because we have made the cuts applicable to the video, but the audio also blends together too, or sorry, it doesn't blend together, it's really abrupt. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually mute this track so that we can't hear it when we play it. And I'm going to add a song. Because I'm making a trailer, having a bit of music in the background and just seeing the different clips is all I really want at this stage. So over here, I have already imported a song to Premiere Pro. And just like I would with any video clips, I can click this and drag it and drop it into my timeline. Now, because it's music, I'm actually going to put it right down on audio track 3 so that it sits there literally underneath everything else. And now if we play, because audio track 3 has not been muted, but audio track 1 has, we should be able to hear that very, very loud song. Now, it's a little bit too loud for my like, so what I'm going to show you now is how to actually change the volume on your tracks, because you're able to see, for anything loud, you can actually see the waveform on the sound, and I'll just zoom in a little bit so it's a little bit clearer. This track here, we can see there's a little bit of loud stuff happening. Obviously, when all the dinosaurs are running, it gets a little bit loud. Over here, when it's just talking, the sound you can see isn't quite as big as it is over here, so it's a little bit quieter. And then when we're looking down at my music, it's really loud. And even if we were to unmute this and play it together, the music completely drowns out any possible audio that we get there. So that can be a bit of a problem. A way to get around this really quickly and easily is to actually lower our volume by, if I just click on this clip alone, I can use my mouse scroll button to actually expand that clip out and scroll down. If you've got a trackpad that allows for a 2-finger scroll gesture, you can do the same there. And then finally, if you've got neither of those options available to you, you can just hover your cursor over the line at the bottom of this track and expand it out by dragging. And you can actually see that when I have expanded this out, I get this additional little white line that I didn't have previously. So again, before, no white line, but when we expand it out, you can see it's there. That white line is actually the volume. So if I was to hover my cursor over it, you can see my cursor changes and I've got the option to increase or decrease it. So I'm going to click on that line and just drag it down a touch. And now if I play it, it still might be loud, but certainly not as loud as before. And then if I drag it down even further, alright, so now we can actually hear both audio tracks comfortably over the top of one another. I'm going to zoom back out. That can be really handy when you've got these really loud clips. Now, knowing that we can use that white line to actually manipulate the volume, we can decide to make some changes to that volume during the clip. So the white line changes the whole thing, but we can actually make some more intricate changes to specific parts of it. So let's say over here, while they are talking, I want the sound to still be there, but I want it to decrease in volume to sort of dip down so that I can hear them talking, and then dip up again at some of the exciting parts when they're actually running. So I'm going to zoom in again. And now with this white line, I can mark points on it, which we call elbows, that can actually bend that line. To do that, I'm going over to my toolbar and I'll select the pen tool. Okay, P is the shortcut on your keyboard if you need it. And I'm just going to select a point, let's say here, and then I'll drag my playhead back to the start of this particular clip. And so I'll mark my pen mark there, and you can see we've got two little dots along that line. And I'm going to mark it here when the dinosaurs start running, and then a little bit before it too. And now I'll go back, or I'll hit V to grab my selection tool, and now I've got my selection tool, I can actually move those little points down. And so you can see how my volume here runs along this line and then dips to be really quiet, or in fact I might have dragged it right down so it's completely silent, and then goes silent and then comes back up again. So I might make it not silent so that we can actually see a bit of a difference. Oops. So one of the challenging things is that this can be really intricate, and it's not going to want to play for me. There we go. And so let's just have a listen to what's happened now that I've put those elbows into my volume. Should dip,
Sure, I'm gonna gas power G.
and slowly comes up, and then back to the way that it was before. So that can be really, really handy when we are perhaps fading in or fading out. If I zoom out, perhaps I want it to fade out towards the end here. And obviously I don't want the rest of this song, so I'm just going to hit C for my cutting tool. I'm going to hover it to the edge of where my video ends, click to cut, V to go back to my selection tool, select the part that I don't want, backspace to get rid of it. And now I will zoom in, hitting the plus, press the P for my pen tool, select a point there, select a point at the end, and I'll drag that right down. And so this, in effect, should slowly fade the audio out to nothing. Okay, so that can be a really handy way of using audio. You can do what's called a crossfade, where you've got one part coming up in volume as another part's going down, so that the two audio tracks effectively blend together and they cross over one another. And the last thing that I want to show you is when you are playing a clip, you can use what's called markers. And when we are playing any clip, you can actually go back to my selection tool, select the clip that you want, and as it's playing, hit the M key to create a marker. So what I want to do is I want to mark every point that I can hear a beat. So if I go back to the start, and I'll just play, and I'll hit M every time I hear a beat. And you can see down here, as I can hear the beat, I've got a little marker appearing. And I'm just going to leave it at that point for now. But the really cool thing that I can do now that I've selected those markers is perhaps I will drag my clips so that they actually, and you can see they want to match up to one of the markers. So if I've got a clip ending at each marker, drag that one there, and drag this one to the next one. Okay, so each time I'm doing it, I'm shrinking the clips a little bit. This will be a very, very short video now because I have effectively shortened all of my clips. But now that I've done that, you'll be able to see that my edits actually match with the beat of the song. So I'll hit play and let's see how this works.
I can cover the
Okay, so that's a really effective way of building a rhythm into your video where we're actually sort of editing on that beat. It can work really well to create some suspense or to perhaps just get your audience into the rhythm of things. So that's a really basic use of sound in Premiere Pro. Of course, there are additional audio effects, but we'll look at some of those in a subsequent video in this series. But for now, thanks so much for watching.